That concludes the workout here. Now I'll get back on the dash. The airbag should be disabled by now. Wash my hands and stuff off so I don't trash the interior and get any of this fiberglass might have got on me off before it gets dug into the skin. Might want to make sure that the power seats are fully back before you unhook the battery. That one's a manual over here, so I can move it anytime. Alright, I'm going to start in the driver's side, dig in wherever you like, by popping this headlight switch assembly out. There's a little slot here. Be sure you get far enough back in there to get a hold of the whole piece and not just the face. You'll tear the little glued little pegs off. Get it back in there. Get a bite on the meat. Yeah, ain't too bad. There's this little, it's just tack melted to the body. But I'm going to go ahead and unplug these. That one will squeeze in. Just got two squeeze in things. Get that out of the way. And once the switch assembly's out of the way, let's go ahead and pop that 7mm screw out in there. I'm going to be keeping the screws out of the dash in a separate box. I put the screws to the console with the console back there. The console, when it goes back in, got a metal plate that locks in to that metal plate when it goes back up against the dash. And I got a magnet in case I need it to get some of the deeper screws out. And I'm going to go ahead and take this screw out that's underneath the defrost and the pedal controls. And pull the fuse cover off. Toss it in the back. And it's going to be a screw here, here, and up underneath of the releases. Hood release and a parking brake release. I'll take those four out, and then this one. And there's one more on the bottom above the OBD2 connector. Zap it out. And I go up on top of the steering wheel, trim panel around the steering column. Fish it around the ignition switch. And we'll toss it in the back. Looks pretty good. Got another screw on this corner. Once got these loose, 5/16 this metal bracket, and then disconnect this ABS test connector, and there's another 5/16 in there. And continuing on, once this knee bolster is loose, it's just kind of clipped in. Get a hold of it. Give a little jerk to one side. It's kind of heavy. Watch, make sure you don't snag your cables up. Might feed them around the. Just remember that's how they go back in there, and then unclip this side. It's super nice. These things here is what's holding it after you get the screws out of it. And we'll toss that in the back with the rest of the stuff. So while I'm poking around down here, I might as well take a pair of diagonal side cuts and pop these plastic push pins out of this beauty trim. Matches up against the console. They're just push pins, so not a big deal. Just try to save them if you can. And I'm going to go ahead and take this reinforcement brace out. There's 4 13mm, and it's fastened up to the steering column, but it isn't what holds the steering column up. So just get this brace out of the way. This is the shifter cable, and it'll have to be unhooked before it's forgot about and destroyed. It takes a 5.5 socket to break it loose and take that little bolt out of it. But relax, it can be circumvented with a 7/32. It'll take it loose without any trouble. A pair of needle nose or something and lift that wire off of the hook up there. It's just snagged on a little hook, and just slip it up off of it, and then all the way to first. It's not a big deal, it doesn't tear anything up. That cable will come up with the instrument cluster when it comes out. There might be a harness or two causing some access distress, but no biggie. There's one. There's 2, 3, 4 of them. 4 nuts. And the last one. I want to get a hold of that thing so it doesn't hit something and tear it up. Put a paint mark on the front of it or something saying forward. This guard goes toward the gas pedal. And the shifter cable is unhooked from the hook back there. And this is the 7/32 socket at work on this shifter cable bracket. And it's going to be really super fine thread, so don't push on it too much taking it out. And the screw will stay in there, I guess. Let me ease off being downstairs for a little bit. Come up here to the top, and there's 3 screws and a trim around the instrument cluster. And get the one over the top of the steering column out with a short ratchet, and zip the other out with a screw drill. Now I'm going to take that screw out and this screw out, and then those 2 screws under there. And now that it's loose, go around here and unplug these wires. And then fish that apparatus out of there. Sure not to break your turn signal switch. the back. And now that got a little scabby look to it, I'm gonna go ahead and let the steering column down. And it's got 4 13mm nuts holding it on. I'll leave the front 2 loose and take the back ones out, and then walk the steering column down slow. Just be sure to shift your cable out of harm's way. I suppose while I'm down here poking around with the steering column, I can go ahead and take this one brace bolt out. It's hooked to this support brace. No biggie. Take the other 2 nuts off and slowly lower it down. Make sure any wires aren't getting pulled on too hard. Looks pretty good. I set a box underneath the steering wheel. It's missing a seat, so just to hold it up, it was stretching the shifter cable out some against that stud. I didn't like that, because that ends up leveraging against wires and other gizmos. Now there's one screw back there. It'll need taking loose. Right in the center where the steering wheel was, right above center. And I'll take the 4 screws out of the instrument cluster, all in the white patches, and slip the cluster forward and unplug it. And then, like I say, watch your shifter cable, it doesn't get damaged. It's not too bad of a deal, I guess. Never hurts to have a magnet around. Just like that. Sticky. All these screws are all pretty much the same, I guess. Okay, there's a couple plug-ins on the back. Unlatch those, get them out of there. See the latches on them or not. Looks pretty good. And while I'm poking around on this side, I might as well go up top and pop one of these screw access covers off. Kind of get inside, it'll jump up. And I'm gonna go ahead and take that 9/32 screw out. I suppose I could pop the other one out while I'm up here. Yeah, keep those guys, you'll need them later. Alright, I'm going to transfer my flag to the passenger side and start working on the glove box, the airbag, and the screws over there, and the braces down on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and get this other plastic push pin out of this trim from in front of the console. And I can go ahead and take these 7mm out of the glove box hinge and get it out of there. And 3 more with the glove box fully open. Now watch, it's spring loaded, so it might bite a little bit when they start coming loose. I'm just holding the plate forward with whatever, so I can get that last screw out. Now I can see what's going on in here. I'm going to take a 5/16 out of the bottom of the airbag on that side of the glove box, another 5/16 out of the airbag on this side of the glove box. I'll come down the left center and pull the carpet back. There's one 10mm I'm going to take out, and one still down under the carpet a little bit. Take those two out. Then take the one that black brace is hooking to the rust up there, take it out. And then take the one with the stud on the floor on this brace, take it out. And finally this little brace bolt. You might stick your stuff just back together loosely on this one and put it up. I'm going to go ahead and pop this oval shaped looking piece out of the top of the dash so I can get down the other airbag screws. Just lift up on it a little bit and start pulling piece at a time. Now I'm down in there and take this other airbag bolt out and unplug the CPA connector to it. And then just reach down in here and push the airbag out. Get the other airbag bolt out. Just reach in here and get it loose and unplug the connector carefully. This thing is pretty dangerous. And there's the connector. That gives some access. Got two more screws, 7mm to take out there. That silver is part of the body reinforcement. That's what the dash is setting on all the way across it. And there's going to be one at an angle down in there. So it goes into that silver reinforcement. Alright, I had to break the bond down here. Been there so long, but it's starting to come apart. Lift up on it. I watch for harnesses down this side getting snagged. Let me see that light. There's a bundle there. Gonna need unattached from the side. Slowly but surely. I'll give it a little room. And I got those hold downs removed. Now I gotta unplug this wire harness going to the resistor assembly. Too short to let it slide back. Just got a latch on the side here. Get that unplugged. And I'm gonna unplug that fuel shutoff switch. Still pretty short against it. I'm gonna go ahead and unbolt the grounds on this corner and unclip all these wire harnesses to get a more room to work. Dash coming back pretty far. Get in there to that heater box. Alright, got all the harnesses unplugged. Grounds off, and that light come on back. Give me a nice hole to work out of and get this top off. To get access to the heater core. With any luck. taking the screws out of it. Looks like most all the screws are 8mm. Probably put it down in there and take the perimeter off of it. Now, there was a vacuum line sitting in that slot. Pushed it up out of the slot. Alright, all the bolts are out. There were 3 hidden ones up there where the heater core tubes pass through the firewall. Down in the triangles and little dips and stuff. And I just had to jiggle a little bit. Kind of, let's catch on this fresh air shroud. And I'll jiggle it off there. Alright, I had to take this vent tube off, get a little more clearance, and pull it out sideways. And there's what I'm after. That is a real special deal there. Blend door's wide open. Be had to put a new blend door in it while in here, offhand, and a new evaporator offhand, but just doing the job right now. Alright, I left the blend door and the casing it hinges on up out of there. Just remember to set it back down in there with the door wide open. Really had to wiggle and jiggle to get that plastic out from around the heater core, the blend door and its surround. A little bit of it sits underneath the heater core, so if you can kind of push the heater core forward or something, it takes some doing to get it up out of there. It's got a kind of a latch on this side, and it's got one flat blade going straight down and one like dowel pin going straight down, and then a little L shape going under the heater core that wants to hold all that mess down. But I should be able to slide the heater core back and get it up out of there now anyway. And here it comes. Heavy. That's a dandy. I'm just comparing the heater cores. The tube's a little close together on the new one. And I worry about the flat place here isn't as deep as it is on the original. So might have to trim some of the plastic cover back out to accommodate the hump on this one. We'll see, I guess. I'm going to cut this one open and have a look in there. Yeah, it looks pretty rough. I think the 3 on the right, on the bottom, are the only ones working. The only one that had green in them. The rest of them are bone dry. That's the inlet side, and this is the outlet side. Sure did make for a cold ride. When you get your new heater core, compare the size to the original. Check it for any damage, particularly around the tubes or any of the fins or the tubes, for any nicks or dings. And you might pull a vacuum on it and check it, or put some pressure to it and check it underwater for any leaks, because this is something else to go back in there and find out it had a pinhole in it. And I'm putting rubber caps on this one to push it through the firewall so don't get any debris in it. You could even stick it in there, and before you button it up, hook these hoses up and fill it full of antifreeze and pressure test the system and watch the drain for anything coming out. But I'll start lay it back down in there. Went ahead and pushed them back on, tugged on a few times. They're locked on. While the one line was off, I went ahead and poured the antifreeze back into the reserve just to help any air get out of it. Not that this is really going to have a problem getting rid of the air. It flows pretty good through there. And I'm going to go ahead and throw a pressure tester on it and let it set while I'm putting the dash back together, just to make sure it don't have any green coming out in the wrong places or any place. This is just a general view of the blend door frame. I don't know why it was so hard coming up out of there. It was something else. It's got one lock on it on the top right. These pegs just kind of stick in. Guess a little bit of it goes under the heater core. I didn't know. That's where the blend door hinges. We'll see, I reckon. That blend door and its bracket was kind of a pain to get back down in there. If the blend door is fully extended, you kind of have to bend it a little bit to get it lined up with the peg on the driver motor. And you have to bow it a little bit because it loads this door down. It's usually what busts them. And just keep this straight up and down with the heater core, so it's this peg and that little flap goes down into the little slot for them. And it'll push back on the heater core and make sure it settles all the way down, and that little cutout is level with that screw hole, so keep a heater core sandwiched in there. But it looks like it's a winner. When your top goes down, make sure it settles flat on all the screws. Kind of have to work it around that brace a little bit, and that I took that vent tube off, and you gotta slide it underneath that vent tube. It'll run right into it. But the cover fits good. It's just a matter of putting the screws back in it and putting it back together and plugging everything back in. Should go. Easy. I'm just going to skim over the putting it back together highlights. I put all the screws back in it. There's 3 mystery ones down in there. 1, 2, 3 down them holes. But all the screws are back in it. Everyone inspect your heater core. There's a place to drill a hole. Just don't let it run all the way back to the heater core. You can see a straight shot of the heater core back in there. I'm going to put a cap plug in it. All the screws are back in. Don't forget to put your vent defroster or vent tube, or actually I guess it'd be the side window defroster tube. Go up against this one. Comes out to blow on the windshield or blow on the person in it, I guess. And put the vacuum line back in its track. Just have a look around, make sure all the other foam and stuff's intact. If you get a minute, to hook the heater lines back up. And look down in and make sure that there's 2 O-rings. A little white nylon spacer in there between them. And put a little white grease on the tubes back here and on the O-rings. And then these plastic locks, just kind of put some white grease on the solid part of the ring and just go ahead and snap them back into place inside the connector. And shove them back up on the heater core, they'll lock in with any luck. Just make sure the little locks are in the slots all the way. And snap them back on. Make sure they're well lubricated. Looks a lot better than the 90 degrees it was putting out. That should provide enough heat to keep the windshield cleaned off. That should keep the window stalled out and the interior warm. 163 degrees at idle. Now check, make sure it goes to hot to cold, the blend door is working alright, and that it changes all the directions. That should wrap it up.